I love the city of Palermo on the island of Sicily. Our most recent visit was in 2024 when we were on a Mediterranean cruise and our ship docked in Palermo for the day. We walked the city without a tour guide, and this is how we spent the day. It is only a 20-minute walk from the cruise ship port to Teatro Massimo, which first opened in 1897. It is the largest opera house in Italy and the third largest in Europe. It stages one of the largest stages in the entire world. It seats 1,350 guests. It was designed by Giovan Battista Filippo Basile. Its acoustics allow performers to be heard from every seat in the house. The theater was constructed on the site of an ancient Roman theater dating back to the 2nd century BC, and remains from that theater can still be seen in the basement of the opera house. There are hidden passageways and tunnels beneath it that performers and staff used to move discreetly during performances. The final and probably most famous scene of Godfather 3 was filmed at Teatro Massimo in 1990. Don Altobello dies from poisoning in an opera box during Anthony Corleone's performance in the opera Cavalleria Rusticana, and Michael Corleone's daughter Mary is shot outside on the front steps of the Teatro Massimo. Also, according to legend, the ghost of a nun haunts the theater. In order to construct the theater, some pre-existing structures had to be demolished, including the Church of San Francesco delle Stimate, its monastery and annexed cemetery. During these demolitions, according to legend, the tomb of a nun who died in 1800 was desecrated. It is said that this nun haunts the theater to this day, that people have seen her shadow backstage and in the basement, and that she has a habit of causing people to stumble on a particular set of stairs, which are now known as the Nun's Step. Our tour guide joked that she is their very own Phantom of the Opera. But apparently, this ghost of a nun isn't scaring spectators away. Teatro Massimo hosts more than 130 music, opera, and dance events every year. In a lobby outside the main auditorium, there is a circle in the middle of the floor that you can stand on and speak. It will sound as if your voice is being projected through a microphone, but you are the only one in the room who can hear it. I didn't believe it until I tried it myself. That was probably the highlight of the visit for me. To visit the theater, you have to go on a guided tour. It is open every day from 9:30 in the morning until their last tour begins at 4:50 p.m. Tickets are €12. This is a definite must-see while in Palermo. A 12-minute walk takes you from Teatro Massimo to the Palermo Cathedral. Entrance to this beautiful cathedral is free. However, if you want to go up on the roof and into the crypt, treasury, and royal tombs, you have to purchase a ticket for €7. This is definitely worth it. The view from the roof is spectacular. The cathedral was built in 1184 by the Normans as a reconverted Christian church on the site of a Muslim mosque that was formerly a Christian church. It was built by Walter Ofemil. His tomb is in the crypt. Buried in the royal tombs are King Roger II, his daughter Queen Constance I of Sicily, her husband Emperor Henry VI, and their son Emperor Frederick II, as well as the burials of Frederick's first wife Constance of Aragon and his great-great-grandson William II, Duke of Athens. The cathedral is open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. Sunday has restricted hours and visiting opportunities. I am afraid of heights, but the hike up the 100 stairs to the catwalk on the roof of the Palermo Cathedral was worth the view from the top. There are handrails on the catwalk and it is perfectly safe. One set of stairs leads you to a rooftop terrace view, and then a second set of stairs takes you to the catwalk on top. The spiral staircases are tight, so if you're claustrophobic, you might want to think about it before taking the trip up these winding, enclosed, and very steep steps. But once you're at the top, all thoughts of claustrophobia will diminish as you're out in the open air and viewing a panorama of Palermo. Only a 7-minute walk from the Palermo Cathedral to the Royal Palace and Palatine Chapel. The Royal Palace, or the Norman Palace of Palermo, the Palazzo Reale or Palazzo dei Normanni, was built in 1130. The Palatine Chapel was my very favorite experience in Palermo. It is made of mosaics and beautifully carved wood and is absolutely gorgeous. The detail is incredible. The chapel was built by Roger II, King of Sicily, in 1140. The cost to enter the monumental complex, which includes the Palatine Chapel, the royal apartments, the royal gardens, and archaeological area and exhibitions, is €19. It is open Monday through Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and on Sundays from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's closed on Christmas and New Year's. On display in the center of the Makeda courtyard in the Royal Palace was a very large white marble baby. This baby is on display until June 3, 2024. The exhibit is called Look Down. The baby is curled up in a fetal position and is facing the Palatine Chapel, a symbol of coexistence between different cultures and religions. It was created by Iago, an Italian sculptor who is considered to be one of the greatest artists in Italy and in the world. The marble baby was originally displayed in Naples, then Ruggiero, then in front of the Colosseum in Rome, and now on display in Sicily. While visiting the monumental complex, don't miss out on the royal gardens. Monuments of nature are on display here, including the gigantic Ficus microphylla, which embraces a pine tree and lives in the company of very rare plants and trees. The royal gardens had been closed to the public for years, but are now part of the tour of the monumental complex. In the basement of the royal complex are remains from 4th century BC Phoenician city Ziz, or Panormus. You can see this excavation as part of your tour. Phoenician walls and a gate have been excavated, as well as other archaeological finds that you'll see on your tour there. During our tour of the palace, Parliament was in session, so we were not able to tour the royal apartments. The royal palace is the seat of the Sicilian Parliament. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the royal apartments are closed to visitors. It's a 12-minute walk from the Royal Palace and Palatine Chapel to Fontana Pretoria, or the Fountain of Shame. This is about a block from the famous Quattro Conte intersection, which is where two major Palermo streets, Via Maqueda and Corso Vittorio Emanuele, intersect. The fountain was installed in Piazza Pretoria in 1581 and includes 48 statues of nymphs, humans, mermaids, sirens, tritons, and satyrs. The fountain represents the 12 Olympians, other mythological figures and animals, and the rivers of Palermo. Since the 18th century, some people nicknamed Fontana Pretoria the Fountain of Shame because of all of the nude figures, and it was even rumored that the fountain's waters were infected with syphilis. Unfortunately, on our most recent visit to the fountain, there was no water in it at all, and the gates were locked, so we couldn't explore inside the fountain, but had to admire it from outside the fence. On our previous visits, the waters were flowing and the gates were open, so we suspect that the fountain must be under renovations. The fountain was designed by Francesco Camilliani and was originally intended for the Palace of San Clemente in Florence. When it was moved to Fontana Pretoria, several homes in the area had to be demolished to make room for it. Fontana Pretoria is considered one of the most iconic landmarks of Palermo. We sat on the steps in Piazza Pretoria and enjoyed a brioche from a nearby cart and admired the fountain and the surrounding buildings in the square. We visited two churches in Piazza Pretoria, Chiesa di Santa Caterina and Chiesa di San Giuseppe dei Teatini. We visited the rooftops of both churches and admired the view of the Fontana Pretoria below, as well as the excellent views of Palermo. The Church of Santa Caterina costs €5 if you want to visit the roof, and €3 to visit the church, or €7 to visit both. It is open every day from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. We didn't visit the monastery, but for €10, this is also included in your visit. The church was built in 1566. Saint Catherine of Alexandria was a martyr of the 3rd and 4th century who lived in Egypt. According to tradition, Catherine was a beautiful young Egyptian, and the Golden Legend specifies that she was the daughter of King Costa, who left her an orphan when she was very young. She was educated since childhood in the liberal arts. Caterina was asked in marriage by many important men, but she had a dream of Mary with Jesus as a child in her arms, who put a ring on her finger, making her his bride, and for this reason she was taken as a model to follow for the nuns. She was considered the ideal of the Virgin consecrated to Christ. Oh, it's the Villa of San Matteo. No, it doesn't look like it. Green dome. Cathedral. Chiesa di San Giuseppe dei Teatini was built in the 17th century by Giacomo Bescio. It houses the large blue and yellow dome that is very noticeable from Piazza Pretoria and from the rooftop of the Church of St. Catherine. Under the church is an underground church dedicated to the Madonna della Provvidenza. Inside this church there is a well, which is called the Miraculous Spring, because tradition states that its waters can cure every ailment. As we were ascending the stairs, we could hear the bell chiming. I was so sad to have missed being out on the roof when the bell was ringing. It was another spectacular view of Palermo and of the Fontana Pretoria below. It was an excellent day in Palermo, probably my favorite destination of our Mediterranean cruise. I love Palermo and can't wait to visit again.